Hey, I'm Matt, and this episode of No Dumb Questions is brought to you by HelloFresh. HelloFresh is a meal kit delivery service where really smart food people and dietitians put their brains together to design very good food, and they put together the ingredients and they ship it to your house in an insulated box. And then you unpack the thing, and in there is a really easy to understand recipe card, and then you get to cook your food, which is surprisingly fun even for somebody who doesn't know much about how to cook food. The instructions are easy to follow. I know where everything's going, and it takes less than half an hour to put the thing together, and it tastes good every time. In fact, I would say it tastes better because I'm actually invested in the process of making my food instead of just having my food happen to me. So you feel good after you eat it. You feel good putting it together. Each meal is like $10 a pop tops, so it's really reasonable. And it fits into your schedule really nicely. So if you haven't tried out HelloFresh yet, I really hope you'll give it a shot. Supporting them supports us. You can do that by going to HelloFresh.com and entering the promo code NDQ30. That'll get you $30 off your first order. All right, let's get to the conversation. All right, man, you're in charge. Rock and fire.
I feel like the last couple of episodes we've got super deep and maybe a little self-important.
Maybe at moments.
Like
we had to figure out the point of human existence.
I think you're getting self-important right now, dude. Like right now, just back off. Just back off.
Okay,
So
backing off.
I just want to talk about something sciencey and simple. And I mean, I don't even know if this is going to be like a short episode or what, but something cool happened, and I just want to talk about it with you.
Tell me about it.
Yeah, did you see the domino video I did?
I'm halfway through it. Sorry, it's like a 10-minute video, and I didn't watch the whole thing yet.
All right.
It just occurred to me that I have failed.
Okay, well, cool. So you haven't seen the half that matters then that is pertinent to this discussion. So maybe that's a good thing.
Tell me about it. Yeah, it is a good thing.
So I went to Detroit. There's these people. I say people because there's like guys and gals from all over the world, mostly from Europe, a lot from the U.S., and they love Dominoes. Like when I say they love Dominoes, it's like their jam, you know? Have you ever loved anything like that?
Yes, I've loved a lot of things like that. Most recently, fly fishing and tennis.
Yeah. But Dominoes, okay, there's these two, I'll just use their names, Lily and Steve.
Okay. How old are Lily and Steve?
Lily's like freshman in college-ish, and Steve is a little bit older than that. They really love Dominoes. And so I wanted to go see this thing. It's called the Zeal Incredible Science Machine.
Okay.
And they have all these people from all over. They do a 250,000 domino setup. That's the American record. Now, what do you think the European record is?
Well, I assume it's worse because America is big and awesome.
No, man. There's all kind. There's like, I think your mom visits Italy and listens at least once an episode.
I think you're onto something.
No, but what do you think the European record is?
I don't know. They've been doing it longer. I don't know. You said 250,000 for America.
Yeah.
Yeah, 500,000.
4.4 something million.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Okay,
It's
I did
like,
an exercise one time when I was a kid where the teacher was like, if you started writing on a sheet of paper right now, it would take you until you're 28 years old to just write to 1 million. And I was like, yeah, forget that. I'm doing it. And for 2 nights I did. And then I figured out she's right. So 4.4. Really yeah. I was going to bring it to her at the end of the year and be like, take that, Mrs. Springer. And
yeah, your childhood sounds a lot like mine.
No, she was dead on. But 4.4 million, that's unfathomable. Do they have a machine that sets them up?
No, well, so they have these little devices they make out of Legos, obviously. And so
not obviously.
It's a gauge stick. So Steve Price is this one guy's name. He has a YouTube channel called Sprice Machines where he makes these little Rube Goldberg machines.
Oh, cool.
And so they make these gauge blocks out of Legos with the perfect spacing, and they just load them up with dominoes, and then they push them into position, and it perfectly lines them up. It's
how
really
how many
cool.
at a time?
Oh, it's about 40, something like that.
That's still a long time to get to 4.4 million.
Yeah, I know.
How many people were working on that?
I think it was about 2 dozen, and they worked a week. Actually, they did 1,512 hours worth of work to get 250,000. That's a lot.
Wait,
but,
that's for 250,000.
Yeah, but they were doing like fancy stuff. Like they were getting all artsy and doing neat, interesting setups. And so if you were just going for like the hardcore record, you would just obviously just set up these huge fields, right?
Yeah, I
Anyway,
suppose so.
This is what I want to talk about.
Okay.
So they did this thing at the end of this whole event where they started a timer, and then the timer would knock over this big wall at 0. They counted down from 10, and they actually did a countdown like 10, 9, and then, it hits it at 0. And man, that really got me thinking. What is the speed of dominoes? Have you ever thought about that?
Of course I haven't thought about that, but I'm excited to.
Yeah.
So how you're saying once they start knocking each other over,
yeah,
like miles per hour, how fast are they toppling in order?
Basically, like what things would determine the speed of a domino? And you haven't watched that part of the video yet?
No.
No joke?
No, I no joke, haven't, because apparently our friendship is on the rocks.
Whatever. So what things would you think would affect the speed of dominoes? Because I figured a lot of this out, and I think I've figured things out that nobody knows about this yet.
Okay, but I get to guess?
Yeah.
Okay, weight of the dominoes.
Okay.
Sharpness of the edges of the dominoes versus roundedness.
Okay, that's pretty good.
Weight distribution of the domino, whether it has that little bead in the middle or not.
Bead in the middle. What do you mean by that?
Well, don't some of the dominoes have like a little bead on the middle stripe of them?
Let's just
the ones you
let's
actually
just assume
play
they're
with?
all. Let's just assume that it's like a prism, like a square looking thing, like a rectangle.
So they don't use actual dominoes. That you can't play with these dominoes afterwards. They're just the shape.
Correct.
Okay, my bad. Scratch that one then.
Okay.
The surface you set them up on, I think that would affect how quickly they would topple.
Okay. In what way? Go deeper into that.
Okay, because I assume there would be friction as the domino starts to slide out from under itself and fall forward. And
What do
I
you mean?
suspect that when that domino falls, it's not just a clean flop forward like a belly flop. I assume that it falls forward and the bottom slides back out underneath it a little bit as it falls. I could be
Now, why
wrong.
do you think that?
Because of how other things fall when I knock them over, or when my cat knocks them off of tables.
No, you haven't seen this video. You're not
I-
sandbagging here.
No, I've not seen this video. Sandbagging is against the rules. We've established that.
Yeah,
No.
we have. Okay.
I've definitely not. Why? Because am I getting something right?
Yeah, you're getting something right. Keep going.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, I would say the presence or not presence of fans. Like you obviously were assuming a still room, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay. At first I wanted to say how hard the first domino was flicked, but I feel like that energy transfer would dissipate over the first several dominoes, and I bet there's a consistent rate at which they fall no matter how hard you hit the first one. So I'm not going to say how hard you hit the first one.
This is good, man. This is good. You're doing a good job.
Really? Gosh,
Yeah,
I
you're
feel
doing a great job.
about that. Thanks.
Yeah,
If this all
so-
turns out to be an elaborate ruse and I actually was wrong about everything, it's going to be a funny joke. That's all I can think of.
No.
I got nothing else.
Well, okay, so so you're absolutely right. All the things that you talked about that matter.
Yes.
But there's one thing that
I'm
I
going to
want
high
to hone
five
in
the
on.
microphone.
Yeah.
That sounded terrible. But in my heart, that was a high five.
Okay, so let's dive into that friction piece, because I too assumed all of these things. One thing you missed that had you thought a little bit longer and I hadn't hit you cold with it, you would have. This one's obvious: spacing between the dominoes.
Oh,
Right?
Yeah, duh.
Yeah, that one's obvious. So
Obvious enough that I didn't get it, but thank you for the benefit of the doubt.
we'll think about it. Like if you were to space them out further apart, would it be faster or slower?
I would think it would be faster because that would be more time for gravity to act on the falling domino and it would accelerate.
Well, it's actually slower for the same reason. You know, you
Nuts.
have to, yeah, because gravity is 32 feet per second, or 9.81 meter per second.
That's
However you want to think about it.
That's the only actual number in physics that I know off the top of my head.
Really?
Yeah, that was it. You just exhausted all of my physics knowledge right there, and you said it and I didn't get to. Great.
Dude,
I've been saving that since 10th grade physics for a moment where it might make me look cool at a party or something. It's all right.
It was always one thing I love to do in physics and chemistry is I like to memorize constants in like really weird units. I don't know why.
Give me the weirdest unit you know the rate of acceleration of gravity in.
Oh, gosh. Okay. I don't know many for that. Okay, so you got me. I mean, that's just 32.
Okay, they give me a weird one and something else.
I don't know. Like, I like that light travels at 1 foot per nanosecond, thereabouts.
Did not know that.
Yeah.
What is a nanosecond? Is that
a nanosecond is? I think it's 1 second times 10 to the minus. It's not micro. Yeah, it'd be microsecond. Or times 10 to the minus 9. 10 to the minus 3 is millisecond. 10 to the minus 6 is microsecond. 10 to the minus 9 is nanosecond. And then minus 12 is femtosecond.
Whoa. Okay.
And then you get down to attoseconds.
That's a term I've misused my whole life. So that amount of time is not going to show up in the waveform.
Nanosecond?
Yeah, that's less than a blink.
Yeah. Nanosecond, like light travels 1 foot per nanosecond. And so...
Dang. Okay.
I use high-speed cameras a lot, and so I think in terms of milliseconds and nanoseconds and microseconds and stuff like that. So... It's mostly microseconds and milliseconds. Anyway, we're down the rabbit hole. Let's get back to Dominoes.
That was a good one, though. Foot per nanosecond. Now I know.
Yeah. So the thing is, as that domino is falling, it takes time for it to accelerate and get to the next one. So the quicker you can hit it, the less time it has to, accelerate before it actually topples the next one. So in general terms, if you spread out the dominoes, it'll take longer for it to hit. However...
Okay, because the benefit of the quick hit is greater than the benefit of the acceleration of gravity in terms of speed.
True. But I think there's a knee in the curve. Like, I think if you start getting them closer and closer together, for what I'm seeing in my data, there's this sweet spot where they'll go really fast. But if you get even closer, they'll go slower. I think that's what I'm seeing in the data. I'm not done yet.
So I'm sorry, I have to take a brief aside. My brain tells me that the expression to use there is, excuse me, law of diminishing returns, but you said a knee in the curve?
Yeah, you're right. The principle of diminishing returns. Yeah, you're right. A knee in the curve is something we say in engineering all the time, where you plot things and you're like, oh, look, there's a bendy part in the curve. That must be the sweet spot. And so we say a knee in the curve.
Really?
Yeah. So
I'm stealing that. Thank you, engineering.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. So all that you're saying is right, but the friction thing. So I did this video on Smarter Every Day. I got out the high-speed camera. Steve, who I call Swagger Steve, sent me a Swagger stick, which is his spacer thing. I call it a Swagger stick because I think it's funny.
I think it's great.
So Swagger Steve sent me a Swagger stick. And, I think it was bulkdominoes.com. Lily called them and they sent me a bunch of dominoes. And so I was thinking to myself, okay, I'm going to set up this high-speed camera and unravel the mysteries of the universe, right? Did not happen at all. I set this stuff up.
But you have a high-speed camera.
I do, but the problem is I only set up like 20 dominoes. And so what we found is that as you knock the first one over, they accelerate. So the first one is, kind of slow to topple, and then they speed up. The more that fall down, they speed up. It's like this momentum somehow builds up, and it gets to a terminal velocity where you have the speed of that particular domino setup based on mass, friction, spacing, all the things you mentioned. So every single domino setup has a specific speed that it will obtain and then maintain.
And surely there's some kind of handbook for if you do these things, it will go at this rate, right? No, so you can plan it all in advance?
No, not at all. And so that's something that I wanted to...
So they're guessing?
They don't... Yeah. They just set it up, test it, and redo it is what they were doing, right? And so for the particular setup they had, it was 60 dominoes equal 1 second. But things like turning slows you down and stuff like that. But this is something I found interesting. Get back to the slipping domino that you were talking about. So can you just describe in your mind's eye what that looks like as one domino hits the next one? You mentioned that it was sliding out from under the bottom or something like that.
Yeah, here's why I intuit it to work that way. Like if you set a big box up, like an empty cardboard box,
Yeah.
and you were to put a wine glass 2 inches behind the back of that cardboard box and tip it forward, even if that would clear the wine glass, were the box affixed by a hinge to the ground when it fell forward, it will hit the wine glass in reality because it scoots back. And I know this from my own clumsiness. It's going to scoot back and kick back. It's going to knock over something behind it. So even though dominoes are smaller, I imagine when that falling happens, it reaches a point where the friction is so reduced on the contact point that it starts to scoot back because there isn't weight holding it against the ground anymore. That's how I see it.
So here's the deal. It slides like that before it hits the next domino. So in your mind, were you thinking it would slide after it hit the domino in front of it?
It would depend on spacing.
Yeah.
Yeah, because in my scenario, the box isn't hitting anything in front of it. It just scoots back at a certain point.
So imagine this in your mind's eye.
Okay.
If you were to set a domino upright and you were to thump the top of it really, really hard.
Okay, on the fat side.
On the fat side, you're going to thump the very top of it so that it flips over, right? You with me?
Yes.
That's where a domino is hit by the domino behind it, right?
Up top.
Yeah. So it spins
I may
really...
or may not be doing it right now.
Yeah, so it spins
Okay.
really fast. But because you're hitting it and putting so much force on the top, the inertia or the resistance to motion, because it has mass, instead of it just hinging over on that front corner, it's going to spin in position. Are you with me?
So that flick that I'm doing right now, it's not a domino, but it's close enough, is causing a rotation,
Yes.
not just a clean...
Fall. It's rotating, so the bottom of the domino is kicking backwards out from under it,
Right?
and the top of the domino is falling forward and hitting the next one. I just need you to understand that, because this is a building block to a further point. Do you understand that?
Okay. So it is not pivoting side to side. It's only pivoting on that forward axis?
Yes. It's only tilting
Okay.
forward. You with me?
Okay, then I am tracking. Yes.
So when
fully
it
with
tilts
you.
forward, it's not just making contact with that forward bottom edge. It's also sliding backwards because it's rotating about its center of mass. You with me?
Not side to side, but rotating forward.
Correct.
It's doing a front flip.
Exactly.
Got it. Fully tracking.
Okay, so this is what I discovered. If I let dominoes fall on a slick surface and I let dominoes fall on a frictional surface, the ones on the slick surface are going to rotate more. They're going to try to do a flip instead of just falling forward. And the ones on the frictional surface are just going to fall forward, right?
Okay.
So
Makes sense.
which one do you think is going to go faster? Dominoes on a slick surface or dominoes on a frictional surface?
Frictional surface, because more of the energy will be transferred forward and less will be squandered.
That's
on that
exactly what
pivoting.
I thought. But it's not the case.
Okay. That's the most confident answer I've given in this whole conversation.
Yeah,
I
I
was
know.
positive
Yeah.
on that.
What I've discovered with a high-speed camera, I think I have to redo all this testing because I didn't do enough of it, but I think I have discovered that the fact that it's rotating makes it flip forward faster and hit the domino in front of it faster. Just like you've got resistance to change, like we talked about the spacing, the further apart they're spaced, the further it
Yeah.
has to fall.
Yeah.
For the same reason, one that's just flipping instead of falling all the way forward, it can flip faster than it can fall forward. Does that make sense?
It can flip faster than it can fall on
Yeah.
a non-friction surface.
Yeah.
Or a low friction surface.
Here's a fancy way of saying it.
Tell me the fancy way.
The rotational moment of inertia is lower if you're pivoting about the center of the domino than if you're pivoting at the bottom edge.
Oh.
You got it?
Okay. I understood a couple of those multisyllabic words. So it has to do with the pivot point,
Yep.
not the contact with the ground below it.
Yes. And every domino paper I have read, which is a lot of them, you go to Google Scholar, you search up speed of dominoes and stuff like that. Like line 2 in every one of these papers is, we will assume the domino pivots forward from the forward edge. That's like line 2 of every one of these papers. And then they go into this huge math derivation, figuring out, the math involved with a falling domino. And it's all bull
So you're
crap.
about to rock the domino world.
Maybe.
Thank you for understanding that there was
there's a
mild sarcasm in that.
Yeah.
But
I mean, I just love the fact that we think we understand something in like line 2 of the papers that we're just going to make assumptions on. It's not necessarily true. I love that. Dude, I get so excited about that. And so I'm sitting in here in the garage the other night with Trent. He was wearing a goofy rainbow hat, by the way. You'll see that when you watch the end of that video. And we're sitting there knocking over dominoes till 4 a.m. in the morning. And he was like, "What are we doing?" And I was like, "We're unraveling the mysteries of the universe as it pertains to a simple prismatic block of plastic." And like the more we got going, the more we got into it, and we started doing weird stuff like high-fiving, and it was like, "Oh my gosh, I understand it." And so we would put it on different frictional surfaces, and it wasn't until after I put all of it together and was editing the video, because I basically gave up on understanding the physics for that video. It wasn't until the editing process that I was like, holy cow, look at what's happening, and I understood it. And I just wanted to share that with you. This is what a simple scientific discovery feels like. And this is the most simple thing in Newtonian physics, right? But it's so
I don't know. Is it the most simple thing?
I don't know. I mean, I'm asking like super dumb questions. How fast do dominoes fall? That's a super dumb question.
But you can't answer that question without getting into things that do matter.
Yeah. I don't know. I just wanted to share that moment with you because I do these things and I make videos on the internet about them. But the reason I do them is because I want to know. And I think I figured something out that's really neat.
That's the gold standard, man.
What do you mean?
I mean, it's just really gratifying when you figure out something for yourself through your own work in your discipline or whatever you're into, and you realize, hey, nobody's connected this dot yet. And it's not like the thing that changes the world, the same way that rotational physics on a domino is not the thing that changes the world.
This is going to change the world, let me tell you.
Because I figured, you think this is the thing? You think this will finally bring us together in unity and harmony?
You know what this reminds me of? It reminds me of the moment in Back to the Future 3.
I already like your example.
Where Marty McFly, gets the Frisbee pies plate.
Yes.
You know what I mean? I don't know. Have you ever invented something in your mind? And you invented it and you were very proud of it, and then you later figured out that somebody else had invented it?
I used to be in a band, and we played music in front of people because I thought that was a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
And I wrote a lot of songs. I wrote one day, and I was like, this is like the best thing I've ever written. This cadence is powerful. The ideas are powerful. I can hear the melody. It just happened. It came together into focus, and I got the guys together. I was like, guys, listen to this. And I got out my acoustic guitar that you play to impress girls at campfires, and I started playing it, and one of the dudes started laughing at me. And I was like, I'm bearing my soul to you. I just told you this is the best thing I've ever written. He's like, that's a huge hit by Coldplay. What? Crap.
Was it really?
Yeah, it was.
Like you had heard it somewhere subconsciously?
Whatever that one is. I just wrote it, but with my own words and on an acoustic guitar. And I genuinely, in my heart, believed that I had just created powerful, meaningful art that the world was going to love. And they do. It's just that Chris Martin thought of it first.
So I invented a hole saw. So I was like, what if you had a saw blade, but you rotated it around in a circle, like on the end of a drill, and you could saw holes with it.
And then you figured out Coldplay already invented that?
Yeah, hole saws.
Yeah, that's... And what was your epiphany moment?
Well, when I saw a hole saw in the store, and I'm like, oh, wow. I'm not that smart. This episode of No Dumb Questions is sponsored by RX Bar. These are protein bars that are healthy. All the ingredients are on the pack. You can see exactly what you're putting in your body. If you want some, go to rxbar.com/NDQ and enter promo code NDQ, and you can get 25% off of your first order at checkout. These things are popping up everywhere. You can see them at airports. That's where I've seen them most often. All types of coffee shops, stuff like that. They're really good. I prefer the chocolate sea salt. I think it's really good, and I enjoy it. So if you want to support No Dumb Questions, we would really appreciate it if you support the sponsor by going to rxbar.com/NDQ. Get an order, 25% off by using promo code NDQ. Thank you very much.
Okay, Destin, I'm on the subreddit, and...
Which one? There's two now.
Oh, yeah, you caught me. Okay, I'm on the fancy new one where we welcome any content that anybody wants to submit. So that's r/NDQ.
Yep.
And we're doing a thing on there where we have flair, and as we peruse that, if either of us like a question, we can tag it, picked by Destin or picked by Matt, and that means we're going to talk about it on an episode. Can I throw you the question that you already picked?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, it has to do with exactly this subject. Why did you finally decide to switch the Reddit, Destin?
So I parked NDQ back in the day thinking we might use it for something, and turns out we opened the floodgates on r/No Dumb Questions, and that's where we let people talk about whatever in the episode itself. But when we opened
floodgates is the right expression.
Yeah, because everybody just came into the subreddit. They thought it was very similar to No Stupid Questions, which is a very large subreddit, and so people would ask whatever. And so I had to lock it back down because everybody in there was saying, hey, dude, what are you going to do? You going to moderate this or what? And so we decided to lock down No Dumb Questions, and then we start NDQ, and there's a lot of really cool stuff in there right now. Like I'm seeing all kinds of questions in here, and also suggestions for new books and all kinds of stuff. And I hope people do that, by the way. I would love people to upvote a book that they really think's a good idea. I'm seeing Flatland right here, Failure's Not an Option, Seven Eves, Hidden Figures. I'm seeing a lot of people that have really good book suggestions. So anyway.
Yeah, and please. Right now I have my hand in my ear and I'm holding my elbow with my one hand and I'm making this sound. That means, ooh, 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 I got something. Here's what I want to say about the subreddit. This has required no moderation.
Yeah.
Huge props to everyone who participates in that for not being crappy. Seriously, people are really good at disagreeing on there and not disagreeing. People have treated each other well. So even though people were flooding it with questions that don't make any sense or don't pertain, the only reason we made the change is because it was just muddying the waters of what we actually needed to talk about and what not. So thank you for not needing to be moderated, because we don't want to. We'd rather just hang out as peers and throw out ideas. So nice job. Props to you.
I got 6 minutes before I have to go pick a kid up at a baseball game. So we got to bang some more questions out real quick. Let's do it.
Yeah. Okay. Got another one. This is the one that I tagged.
What's that?
It's going to have to be the quick version. What is the biggest thing we both disagree on? So let me phrase it this way. What is the thing you think you disagree with me most about?
It's okay to put things on the dash of the car as you drive.
Oh, for crying out loud. That is not negotiable.
I know.
No, this isn't a point of disagreement. It's a character flaw on your part.
Whatever, dude.
It's an aspect of who you are as a man in which you need to mature and change.
Am I right?
It is dangerous and wrong and uncivilized.
I've got 5 minutes left before I have to pick a kid up. What do you think we disagree on?
Don't you put anything on the dash while you do it. Crap slides around on the dash and you don't focus on driving.
Also, our views on government. We don't agree on our views on government. I work for the government. And
yeah, I don't.
You wouldn't do that.
No, probably not. We both think there should be a government. I'm not an anarchist. I generally am a live and let live guy, and you generally are a make rockets for the government guy.
That's right. Well, I mean, there's a nuance to what I do. It's a little different than that.
And you understand my playful jab as being nothing more than that.
Yeah. Okay. So what do you think we disagree on?
I think we disagree on downtime.
Oh, dude.
I really think that pacing stuff out and taking your time and fishing most days is really important to brain health. And I think you see that different than me.
I think I'm just a workaholic, Matt. I mean, I have no excuse.
Well, you get a ton done and it's good. And you're a good dad and a good husband. So
I don't think we disagree on that. I think you have the right position on that and I have the wrong position on that. Just like you have the wrong position on it being okay if I have stuff on the dash.
I knew right where you were going. You suck.
Oh man, this is great. All right, so
All right,
what's
we
the
gotta
other
go pick up
question?
kids. I got a soccer game. You got baseball.
wait,
We got 2 done. Let's call it good.
We're gonna call it good. This was fun. A short episode. I say we do this more often, dude. Happy dadding, man.
Yeah, you too, buddy. Catch you soon.
Later.